Hey everybody, welcome back to Win, Lose, or Draw. I'm Joe, and this is my job. Today I want to bring you guys along on how I'm going to approach a project with a local school and their event with their drama club, and they want to do some projection. So behind me you'll see that I have some projection, but it's a little bit dim. So you may not be able to see me, but the point is to be able to see this background. Now what I'm doing is trying to figure out what this projector can do from the throw distance that we are at. And this is what some people would like to call projection mapping because we're doing some scenery. It's more digital scenery than anything. Projection mapping we can get into is projecting onto a three-dimensional object with warping all of your vertices on your video overlay to make it look like the 3D scenery has this new digital overlay over it. So that's not exactly what we're doing here, where this is more or less just straight projection. I just want to take it from super wide to a medium to a narrow field, and we're going to try to test out these different modes for different groups in this sort of a performance. So this is our very back cyclorama, and one thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and pull a measurement from the full width of this projection. And then after that, what I'll do is I'm going to fly in the next one. I will reset the focal lengths and everything on the projector, see if I can get some presets to save in here, and then we are going to try to do some recalling. And one thing that the point of this exercise is to figure out if I need to make any other rentals as far as projectors or screens or microphones or any sort of aspect to the entertainment area, the technical needs for this show. I'll also be tackling the lighting and audio along with this video task. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn some lights back on so that you guys can watch, but I'm going to go ahead and pull some measurements, start flying in some other stuff, so just sit back and watch. A couple of things I do want to do first is go into the menu and make sure that all of the settings are in good shape. See how big the actual projection is. There's another screen here that I'm also going to use, again, just so that I can high bright, you know, like that's cool, high bright's great, contrast, adaptive contrast. We want that on. These are all great. Aspect ratio, we do not want 16:10, we want 16:9. Because that is the normal, that is what I'm sending out of my laptop. Auto sync looks good, so exit, whoops, menu. Now input, that's just where we are. Lamps, high altitude. Lamp status 1 is off. I wonder why that is. Oh, is there another mode in this projector? Will it let us go super bright? Let's see here. Seems like this mode is going to go from single lamp to dual lamp status. There we go. We're going to strike this other lamp. All right. Now we're actually going to, it's probably going to be definitely brighter. And the purpose of having the additional brightness is so that we can cut through this lighting, so that, because we need the lighting, and so you can see us, the performers who are going to be on the stage. Wow, that's already a lot brighter. Okay, I like that. Very cool, very cool. This is a very nice projector. Go back, let me look at alignment stuff. Ceiling, front, fan mode. Yep, lens controls, fine. Let me just, well, before I do any of this, I'm going to go ahead and do some measurements first. So I'm going to go back into control. That looks great. Everything looks great. So then we'll go into service. Okay, all right. There's some. All right, there are some hours on this. We could probably look at, oh, signal, 720. I'm going to be taking a photo of that. Now, I guess let me go back and look at picture again. Huh, input selection. Huh. Okay, well maybe this is only a 720 projector. That's not that great, so okay. All right, well I'm gonna go ahead and start measuring some of this up so I can move on to the next phase, which is going to be flying in the middle screen, and we're gonna go from there. One thing that you may not understand about projection is that projection is all based on math. It's all math and physics, and you cannot defeat either one of those options. So yeah, you really have to make sure your math is accurate, and that's how that'll work. So I'm just gonna start labeling up some key things, and then I will show you my drawing here, and then I can go over that later with you guys as well. So this area is also called upstage. This is the upstage area, and down where the camera is located is called downstage. Fun facts. So, only brought my 25-foot tape, so hopefully I can. There's 25. Let me take off 3. Okay. And what I'm doing is looking straight up to see if I am, in fact, basically in the middle of the stage. So this is a just over a 50-foot. This is probably a 52-foot overall cyc. Yeah, 52 feet overall. The projection image is going to be only a portion of that. So what I'll do is I will put myself back in the middle here, lock this. Looks like we're going to be at almost 32 feet for this, which is very awesome. Here we go. Be as accurate as possible, because again, it's all math and physics. All right, it looks like, yep, 18 feet for this half, so that is a 32-foot, or no, I'm sorry, 36. 18 and 18 is 36. Yes, so and I said that's 18 times 2 is 36 foot wide. And now I'm going to go ahead and come downstage a little bit. I'm going to move some stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'll bring you back here in a second and show you guys this fly rail, which is a very cool fly rail and something very nice to have. All right, let me run out my next line, and this is mid legs and screen. That's coming in next. Over here, I wanted to show you the fly rail real quick. This is the fly rail. Everything over here should be labeled. This is a school, so they have locks for everything because we don't want anybody to get hurt. These can be dangerous. They are to be respected. If you go in respecting the equipment, you should come out unscathed. So a couple of safety things. After, of course, you have permission to unlock everything, there are a couple of things here that I just want to show you in a broad overview. So let me bring you in, let me show you wide first, and then I'll bring you in close. So one thing that you have is we have two ropes here and here, front and back. This is actually a little hard. Okay, that'll probably work for here. So one thing that we have over here is a lock. And now what you do after you notice the ropes here, this is what we're going to be using. You will pull the rope towards this red handle to lift up on your choke collar here. What this does is if this tries to run away, this is a friction lock that holds this. So you'll be pulling that. Basically, this is just the lock and the safety. So we will unlock it. Now you see nothing happens. You want these to be weighted. We need these to be in balance so that when we are operating these, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get these to move. As you might notice, or maybe you're starting to think about, the curtains and the drops that are out there actually have some pipes on them. A lot of curtains are very heavy. They're velour stuff. So you have to balance a lot of that weight. You can't just like heave 500 or 600 pounds. So you see, I'm not really, having much of a problem getting my weight to pull this down. So it's actually working pretty smooth. And on the other side here, as I'm pulling down on this back rope, the fly is going out. And now you see the weight stack starting to come in here. This is where we balance everything up. And you don't want this to crash into the bottom. You don't just want to give this a yank and let go. You must control everything with these. If this crashes in and breaks this back rail, it could just break everything else down the road. And then we have all these stacks of weights here. These are probably 30 pounders, 25 to 30 pounders, and then these are probably 15s. And then there's, obviously we won't adjust any weight because I'm not changing anything, but when we go to change weight, you would have everything super locked off. You take your thumb screws, you move your little plate up. There's even a secondary plate. This usually goes in between where your batten, it's called a batten, where everything, all your drops hang on. That would be your batten weight plate, because none of that weight will ever change. It tells your fly rail crew that when you get to this plate, you stop. You're not doing anything else. All the other weights should go up here. So I don't think that this is set quite correctly. That's not how I would recommend it, but it's how they've got it. So I will tighten that back up. Now to make this fly out, we will unlock it again, pull down on that lever, and I am going to pull down on this rope, and the weight stack will start to go up. And it just operates on this pulley system. It's just a closed pulley system. This one's not exactly in weight either. It's a little bit heavy. It's called, this is fly heavy for me, because when I let go, the weight just wants to come in. But to be totally clear, this is what I would prefer. I would prefer when I unlock that this is going to want to stay down, because 9 times out of 10, all of your stuff will be stayed up in storage. So that is ideal. I wouldn't want it to be heavy on the batten side, just due to unlocking this. If you did that, this could just run away and you'll get rope burn and whatnot. You can see that there are these nice guides back here, so maybe these won't crash as bad, but crashing a batten is terrifying. So that's just a basic rundown on how these work. Oop, not that one. Oh yeah, this is a scrim that I also want to do an effect with. But we are going to come back and revisit effects later. That is too heavy on the fly side, in my opinion. Mid-stage topper. Mid-stage legs. There we are. Okay, so there's mid-stage in. I should be able to just turn off these lights now, and we should be able to see, you guys ought to be able to see what I'm doing. So in theater, you have multiple flies on this fly rail so that you can have different sorts of sets, or not necessarily sets, but scenes. So that's one thing that I also want to look at, is where my legs can come together and kind of make each of these screens look like a different screen. Trying to give more looks. So there, we'll raise that just a touch. See, we're still projecting onto the floor and stuff. I am going to do some zoom action here as well to zoom in, because you can see that it is just not quite good enough. It is over scanning, which is what I would call that, where it's projecting onto the black curtains around it. It's 23. We're going to mark that at 24. 24-foot wide screen here. Okay? Add this to my notes. Now, just because someone may have purchased this as not a screen does not mean it cannot be used as such. I look at everything with such an open mind, where I can come in and just use anything I want. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Oh, that was zoom out. Zoom in. There we go, starting to. So I'm going to go zoom in until it fits on that. And then they also have lens shift function. So now you can actually see here that we are out of focus. And you'll also notice that this grid that popped up will now allow you to get this thing as centered up as you can. Then I'm actually going to go back and touch the focus up, because the focus will affect your placement and your zoom. So that looks great, maybe a little bit too much. Okay, so now I will get myself some focus control. That's out. It never hurts to go past it, because you see how it can change sharpness on you just by clicking the button. So, all right, let's look and see what that does. That looks great. I'm actually going to shift it down a little bit more. Oh, right. Huh. Okay. Interesting. I wonder if there's something in here that I need to change. Oh, I know what it is. We're going to need to check on multiple displays. How about I just extend keep changes. Now what I'll do is I will open this here and drag it over here. So now, yeah, so this does have 1920 by 1080. Great. Oh, it is only a 720. Okay, that's fine. That's totally fine. 720 projector is not exactly your highest quality anymore because 1080 is the new norm, and with 4K becoming so prevalent, 720 to me just doesn't cut it anymore. All right. Okay. Well, that's fine. It's a 720 projector with an extra lens that not an extra lens, an extra lamp. Dual lamp is great. So I will launch that again. And now since the content is for sure what I want, I just need to double check this one more time. I think it just needs to shift down just a little bit more. Maybe I need to check the menu one more time. Picture should be 16 by 9. Okay. Well, I think I'm just gonna roll with this for now. We can clearly see what is happening. In fact, I can just go ahead and continue to. I'll just bump that down a little bit more. It was. This is a skill you kind of get good at, where you guesstimate where your borders are a little bit more. But you'll see, should be pretty close by exiting now. It's a little bit closer. I need to get it down and over a little bit more, but the other thing is I'm just testing. So this is close enough. It is going to do what I want. Okay, so now I want to measure. Oh, yeah. We determined that that is full width, so I can project this full width. Full width. Project. Check. Okay, and then we've got one more screen up here in the front that you see kind of coming in right now. There's down. The only other thing I'll need to do is just, we'll have to kind of set some stops for things so that this screen could be lowered and put in the same place. Doing it on the fly rail is pretty easy because you have the option to just put a piece of tape on the fly rail. It's things that I can show you later. Okay, so now that we are all the way on this, wow, that is super bright. You guys see that brightness change and the actual full screen-ness of it now. So I am going to shift up. And then I'm going to focus, out of focus, in focus. We are very close. One thing I like to do is stand very close because you can actually see the overlap of the chips. And when you get a nice crisp edge around them, that's when you're super focused. But you do also want to make sure that you're not ultra focused only in one point, that your full field is focused. Now I'm going to zoom out just a little. I want the edges to be on the edges. Yep. And now we will exit. Look at this. I'm actually going to throw up my other video. Dang, that's bright. Let me make it loop. Okay. Pull my measurements on this. I actually shot this B-roll and edited it up just a little bit this morning to show them some high contrasty, you know, nice colors and whatnot, to see what this might look like overall. You know, selling projection is pretty challenging to a lot of people just because of the virtually unlimited possibilities that you can have. The only downfall to everything is that it's all budget related. So now this screen is 21 feet. And this is here, 21. Screen. Okay, so this 21-foot screen, we have 24 and a 36. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how I think that's going to come together. So one thing that I might be able to achieve here is by setting a focal length, the focal point on the middle screen, we might be able to do everything without having to change any effects or any main settings on the projector. Let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, I'm going to let this screen go all the way up. Realistically, what we'll probably have the opening, or the proscenium opening, will be most likely full frame. We'll probably do something as big as possible on the overall stage. So we'll have to see. That is, obviously, that's up to the director. I think my acting role is the technical director at this point, covering the video and other tech aspects, which will only help her out so that she can do continue her excellent job that she does with the students, which is why I'm here. I like helping the students. All right, now I am going to go ahead and fly the mid screen out. Not land it. Fly it out. All right. Look at how bright that is upstage there. Oof, man, that looks so good. Good practices of fly rail operation are to be sure that you are 100% locked up every single time you land your fly rail, your fly mode, whatever you're doing. Now what I want to do is measure this one more time up here to see, because I haven't changed the zoom settings from the prior test. So let me see now what we end up with. Let me get in the middle here. Ah, middle. Wow. I am honestly pretty surprised by this projector. So, midpoint, we're at 16 feet. So that's going to be 34 feet. So we only lost I only lose 2 feet. And it looks like the focal length is still pretty good. So realistically, no changing the zoom. No zoom change for screens, for different screens. So that'll be all set at the same length, the same zoom, the same focal length, and I think that's going to give a really good effect. So speaking of effects, one thing I want to look at is, where is that scrim? That scrim's right here. Now, fortunately, I'm going to be shuffling some people's chairs. That is usually how events work, is there's only so many venues, only so many test days. So now I'm going to fly in this other scrim. Now, does this give me the effect I'm wanting? You can almost get like a 3D sort of effect when you're coming off to the side. You know, do you see that little 3D-ish effect? Let me bring you over to the off-axis side here so we can see from another point of view. It definitely cuts the color down. You can tell from top to bottom, but I think it gives an interesting doubling effect. It is definitely a cool effect. It might be usable. It might not be usable. She might not want this at all, but it is still my goal to give as many options as possible before we even have to approach renting anything. I'm not going to measure anything on this scrim. You can see where the projection is hitting myself and casting the shadows. So as you have people dance across the stage, we could have some sort of an interaction. Might even be able to place somebody in between to create this other effect. Maybe you have a shadow sort of effect where you have 2 dancers, one downstage and one upstage in between these things, to where it looks like just her shadow is interacting, but when somebody up in the front moves off to the other side, then you could split out from behind and create a really cool, like, dynamic effect where it looks like you peel a live person in two, under the guise of the projection technique. And again, we're not using anything crazy here, no crazy technology. This is just in-house stuff that this public school has. Mind you, they definitely have the coolest setup for a theater that I have seen in a high school, or not a high school, but a freshman school or a public school in general. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and fly this out. The other effect that I thought might be interesting is if we had a secondary projector where it's projecting from far right and kind of washes over and across at an angle where we could add some clouds that give it a different multi-dimensional look. So that's just about it for my testing. But now that that second lamp is warmed up, that's also something that you'll have to keep in mind when you work with projection. Unless you're using, so one thing that you'll want to consider when you start working with your own projections and doing different effects is that you want to keep in mind what sort of content you're creating, what sort of content your projector will play back. You need to keep in mind what you are doing, how big. So since we are all out this way, This is a traveler track, so let me find its runner here. So what we can do is bring this in just until it starts to cut the image. Now we pull it back to expose the full image on this one. I'm also going to set this down here, and then we'll take a look at it again. So as you can start to see, we can start to narrow in and out these different shapes, or make the stage look a little bit different. Let me go ahead and move you guys really far out. I understand that I'm really blown out right here, but there are so many lights pointing at me. I'm gonna move you guys further away to show you some of the staging presets that I'm gonna come up with and then send off to the director so that we can get some approval, and maybe working on the blocking, she can start looking at which scene she might want to use with what sort of a background with which song, those sorts of things. So be right back. Before I hop too far into the scene selection and how I'm going to jot that down, I want to give you a couple of pointers and rundowns on some stage terminology that you may hear me use. This area here is called the downstage area. This is also an apron. It protrudes out in front of the proscenium, which is the red opening or border. It's on your TV or your television or your cell phone. It's like the bezel of your screen. It's supposed to help narrow to see where the actual picture is. So that is our proscenium. There is a main curtain. This traveler track curtain here will open and close. We have this other automated screen here that'll raise and lower into numerous locations. Again, we have the screen, the mid screen that I showed you here. I will fly that in again while I'm trying to set these so that we have some understanding of what it looks like. And then the same thing over here in the back, we have this other mid-stage traveler. This is the middle of the stage. So as we go from down stage to up stage, there's clearly a middle of the stage. The stage really truly starts at the main curtain back here. The apron, this whole area is a play space, but it is not necessarily the main stage. It is the apron portion. Everything has to be set in dark and secrecy before the house opens and all that jazz. Everything back here, once this main curtain closes, we can throw the work lights on, you can start changing some scenes, you can change whatever you want back here, and then the curtain will open and it'll be like, oh wow, a new scene. So that's the illusion that the video is truly going to give us. So we can go from this one, and then I will just go ahead and play the next. We'll just open right into it, and now you can see how easy it is to make a change without having to open and close your curtains all the time. Maybe not clearly, maybe it's not obvious. I shouldn't say it is obvious. What I'm going to use is not this current testing setup. I will be set up backstage or at the front of house so that I can operate the show from there and see an overall view of it. One of the things that I will probably try to use is software called QLab. QLab will run video, audio, and lighting commands. There are some other ones. I'm not familiar with every single one. I might also just try to get away with VLC player and do a little bit of sort of a budget, you know, public schools are budget friendly. So that's what I'm trying to do, is be as budget friendly as possible. So let me go ahead and fly this mid-screen in. Let me see what that looks like. Especially since it looks like the upstage traveler legs can close behind it too. That should also help. So then we want to get as close to the bottom. Now that I have control, I will make the screen stop where I want it. There we go. It's locked off, and I'm going to show you that here in just a little bit when we can come back here, and I'm gonna go ahead and close the mid-stage curtain. So that sort of a transition would have happened behind the main curtain opening and closing. One thing I want to look at is just how much overscanning I'm doing here. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of overscanning. So as long as what I can do in my video renders is just make that video a little bit smaller, none of that is truly that difficult. And then another thing you'll do is change your valance heights. You have valances. They're just curtains that run over top. This is something we can get into later if there's a lot of interest in this. We can definitely show you when we have some of the tech kids come in here and when we're rehearsing a little bit more in detail of what their setups are going to entail. Really, I think that's going to do it for my testing that I'm going to bring you along with. Some of my other testing I'm going to do off camera just because I can't really give you guys all my secrets. Not yet anyway. We gotta get a lot of likes for that. So I hope you guys like this video. If this kind of content really catches your fancy, if this is something really interesting to you, I hope that I can bring you along on more of my job sites within reason. And please comment, like the videos, and subscribe down below. Don't forget to subscribe. Also follow my other channel, The Reptile Room. And yeah, all those links are down below. Feel free to check everything out. And I'm gonna get out of here today and get back to a little bit of work.